They locked him inside the very machine he had commissioned. As flames licked the bronze, his screams twisted into the sound of a bellowing bull. Phalaris, tyrant of Agrigentum, was about to learn that the cruelty he designed for others would consume him alive. Phalaris ruled in Sicily around 560 BC, infamous for his tyranny. His reign was not remembered for prosperity or wisdom, but for blood. The name of Phalaris lives on because of a single instrument, the Brazen Bull, a device of torture so terrible it became legend across centuries. Agrigentum, perched on Sicily's southern coast, was a wealthy Greek colony. Its fertile soil produced grain, wine, and olives. Merchants prospered, temples rose, and its people believed themselves secure. But prosperity attracted ambition, and ambition bred tyranny. Phalaris rose by seizing power from rival elites. At first he promised order and growth, yet soon the promises rotted. He built walls, garrisoned soldiers, and forced citizens to bow to his will. Resistance was met not with exile or imprisonment, but with death. Writers tell us he grew paranoid, suspicious of conspiracies. Rivals were butchered, nobles stripped of power, and even allies feared his wrath. The city's wealth became his weapon, bent to armies, towers, and spectacle. But fear alone was never enough. He craved something more. Into this dark moment stepped Perillos, an Athenian craftsman. He offered Phalaris something to set him apart from every tyrant before. Not just a tool of execution, but a theater of agony. A brazen bull of gleaming bronze, hollow inside, a chamber for living flesh. The bull was cunningly designed. Tubes and pipes shaped the air so that human screams would emerge transformed into the roar of an animal. Smoke would billow from its nostrils. From the outside, it would look and sound alive, as if a monster were bellowing in pain. Accounts vary on why it was built. Some say Perillos offered it to win favor. Others whisper Phalaris demanded it to test loyalty. Whatever the truth, the result was the same. A machine that made death slow, theatrical, and unforgettable. And someone had to prove it worked. Phalaris ordered Perillos inside. The bronze door shut with a final clang. Soldiers drove bolts across it. Inside, the space was narrow, suffocating. Darkness pressed close, the bronze walls cold against skin. The air was still, heavy with silence. Then the fire was lit. At first, warmth spread beneath his feet. He shouted, banging the walls. The sound was strange, hollow. Then came heat, creeping, rising, burning. His voice grew shrill, cracking in panic, and through the pipes, his cries emerged as the deep animal bellow of a beast. The crowd recoiled in horror. It was no longer a man's voice. The bull itself seemed alive, roaring in agony, and inside, Perillos writhed as the bronze grew hotter. His hands blistered where they touched the wall. His lungs scorched with each breath of superheated air. The belly of the bull glowed. Sweat poured off his body only to boil on his skin. His tongue swelled, his lips cracked, his eyes bulged with bursting veins. Every scream that escaped him was warped into a monstrous sound, the music of death itself. Smoke curled from the nostrils. The stench of roasting flesh drifted across the square. The spectators covered their faces, but Phalaris smiled. Here was fear turned into art. Here was suffering transformed into spectacle. The bull had sung for the first time. When the doors opened, Perillos collapsed forward. His skin was raw, his body blistered, his hair singed away. He begged for mercy, but none came. Soldiers dragged him to a cliff, hurled him down. His bones shattered against the rocks. His invention had killed its maker. Yet the bull endured. Phalaris had it polished, displayed in the square, its bronze gleaming in the Sicilian sun. From that day on, it became his preferred punishment. Prisoners were shoved inside, the fire kindled, and Agrigentum rang with the hollow roar of the beast. The condemned would pound against the walls as the flames rose. First came the cries, high and desperate. Then came the roar, monstrous and terrible. Outside, the crowd heard not men but an animal, howling in endless agony. To watch was to see humanity twisted into nightmare. Inside, death was slow, the heat-seared skin, peeled flesh from bone, boiled blood in its veins. Muscles spasmed, bodies convulsed. Victims collapsed, choking, burning, roasting alive in their own screams. For Phalaris, every execution was a symphony of torment. The bull's nostrils spewed smoke and ash. The bronze shimmered red in the firelight. Onlookers covered their ears, yet could not look away. Some fainted, some fled. Others whispered prayers. The tyrant only smiled, his eyes fixed on the beast that gave him power. Years passed, and the bull became Agrigentum's most feared sight. Families wept when loved ones were taken to its belly. Children were told to behave, lest the bull come for them. It was no longer an instrument of justice, but a monster made of bronze and flame. But cruelty always finds its way home. In time, rebellion rose. Phalaris's enemies stormed his palace, seized him, and dragged him into the square. There stood the bull, blackened by years of fire, its nostrils scarred with soot. And this time, it awaited its master. Phalaris begged, but there was no mercy. Soldiers forced him inside. For the first time, he felt the space he had condemned so many to. The door shut. Bolts locked. Darkness surrounded him. He pounded, screamed, raged against the walls he had once commanded shut. The fire was kindled. Slowly, then stronger, until the bronze was hot to the touch. The tyrant shrieked, but outside, the crowd heard only the roar of the bull. The sound that had terrified them for years now carried his voice, twisted into a beast's bellow. Smoke poured from the nostrils. His skin blistered, his body writhed in panic. The stench of his burning flesh filled the square, and as the flames consumed him, the crowd felt not pity, but a terrible satisfaction. The bull had devoured its own master at last. His screams grew weaker, drowned by the roar of the machine. At last, silence. The bronze cooled, the fire died, and Phalaris was gone. Ashes clinging to the walls, bones blackened inside the belly. The tyrant had become one more victim of his own creation. The Brazen Bull did not die with him. Ancient writers told and retold the tale. For centuries it stood as a symbol of cruelty perfected, of terror turned into theater. Some saw it as justice, others as horror. But all agreed, once built, such a device can never be forgotten. The bull was more than a tool. It was a mirror of tyranny. It showed what happens when power strips away mercy and turns pain into performance. Phalaris sought to make fear eternal. Instead, his own death became the most enduring spectacle of all. And so we remember the Brazen Bull, not for its craftsmanship, but for its cruelty. It reminds us how far men can go when they hunger for control, and how, in the end, cruelty devours itself. Would you have watched in silence or turned away from the flames? Thank you for watching. How does this story strike you? Justice or horror? Share your thoughts below. And if this tale chilled you, wait until you hear of the Duke who was drowned in a vat of wine, a punishment as bizarre as it was brutal.